Hi there and welcome back to this week's trade recap, and this week I am pissed with this thing, really pissed with this, and I'll be straightforward and I'll do it as fast as I can. So let's start right ahead with Monday. I've been somewhat bullish this entire week because this order flow is just straight bullish, and we have this Trump data highs from last week. So my overall bias for the week was this, and if we took this with a lot of momentum like we did, we would probably take these ones, but this is all hindsight. But overall, my bias for the week was bullish. And here on Monday, this is the 5 minute, it's a little bit zoomed in, but my overall bias was still really bullish because everything, the order flow was bullish. So I wanted us to take these highs because they looked low resistant, and I wanted us, if we did that, I wanted us to sweep this low and then head for the highs, just like what happened. And here, if we zoom on the 1 minute, here we have a data low. So I was trying to target either or the data low or these highs, and we did take first this data low. We delivered from this 15 minute on the left that I just showed, and we had this quick candle right at open that didn't leave us anything to trade. And after it, we had a 30-second down that I didn't take because my overall bias was bullish, and we had this 1 minute, but I didn't take this one because it closed way above and this wasn't a good risk to reward, so I didn't take this. But if we zoom out on a 2 minute, we see that inside this 1 minute we have these two, which is smaller and below. So the risk to reward on this one would be really decent. And because we already swept external, we already swept internal, this is delivering, and it is a sweep with a lot of momentum to the upside. We don't need to wait for the 1 minute. The 2 minute is decent because our bias is bullish, our other one liquidity is above, and we have a sweep of external, internal, and we have momentum. So this is a good play to take, but I was so focused on the 1 minute, I didn't even saw the two. And now quickly into Tuesday, I was targeting this low because here we already swept these highs and we have relatively equal lows below. So because we inversed this 15 minute and hourly with a lot of momentum to the downside, I was targeting these lows. I wasn't targeting this one, but we ended up targeting that as well. And right at open here, I wanted us to sweep this high to have some sort of manipulation leg, a Judas swing for us to take this low. And here on the one, we see that we created this 930 high, that it's a high that swept another high inside the fair value gap. This is a whole rejection block, and that's the thesis that I used for shorting here. We respected this rejection block, we inversed this 1 minute, we had relatively equal lows below, and this is also a data low, which makes this a one setup for life as well. So this is really good. But here we inversed it on this candle, and we had this 1, 2, 3. We had these relatively equal lows inside this fair value gap and BPR. So I didn't want us to hold this. So I took this trade, entered right here, and placed my stop at break even when we swept this, which is really close to my entry. And I understand that that isn't the best, but I didn't want us to respect this. I wanted us to flush to the downside because we had a really strong draw on liquidity. We can also say that because I had a really strong draw on liquidity, I wouldn't need to move my stop to break even so early, and this is something to have in mind for the next ones. And this is also somewhat of a low resistance liquidity. So here, yes, this trade is kind of perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So maybe I wouldn't move my stop to break even, but this is the only trade that I took. We also had this 2 minute, which was really good, but I didn't take it because we were already low. But this trade was really good. It was a mistake of my part because if we go on the 5 minute, we see that we are delivering from this one, which makes this an intermediate term high. And here we have this relatively equal lows. So because of all this momentum, it makes this 2 minute really good. And also we see the perfect, which is this inversion. Right after taking the lows, we have this inversion with a lot of momentum to the upside, which makes this a clear sweep. and we would place our stop at break even, which is this high inside of our value gap, and we would target the data highs. But because yes created an SMT around this zone, yes took the data highs, so we would take our trade here and we'll make this a 1.5R, which would be a really good trade. I wasn't looking at the market at this time. This trade is textbook, and I am really sorry that I didn't take it. On Wednesday, I thought we wouldn't have anything special because we moved 8,000 points to the upside, and here we left the 930, which was a relatively equal high with this one, which made me bullish, but I wasn't trying to take any single trade because of that move, and we did end up getting choppiness, which is what we usually wait, and I ended up leaving the charts around 10:45. But right after I left, we ended up delivering from this 15-minute. We went past this low, this range. Usually we don't long when we have this choppiness, but because we got out of this chopping range, we went below, which is accumulation, manipulation, and then distribution. This is a really decent trade, but even if we didn't want it to take these ones, these 1 minutes, here we have a confirmation play. So we inversed this 1 minute, and we can say that this wasn't the best, but after we inversed it, we have another confirmation play, which makes this really good. And yes, it did ended up getting really choppy, but it did ride a lot to the upside. We would maybe be targeting the end of the AMD, and also here it's the beginning of this 30-minute and hourly, and we would have to scale or take everything out there because we don't know if we are going to inverse this to the upside. So that's really it for Wednesday. Thursday, it's another one that kind of pisses me off because here we have these relatively equal lows, and if we zoom on the 1 minute, we see that we have liquidity below, and the price action above isn't quite the best. So here the best time frame to look at was the 5 minute, because we had this high inside of our value gap, which I was waiting for us to sweep and then take a setup to the downside. And right here on the 1 minute, we have this low resistance liquidity, and we swept the highs, and I instantly shorted this 1 minute to the downside, which I would be targeting at least 1 hour, and that it would be this low, which would be a really quick trade and a really decent trade. But we did held this low resistance liquidity, we inversed it, we went above. After sweeping external, we swept internal. But the problem here is that I was looking at the 1 minute, and the 1 minute closed here, and closing here my stop loss is way above, so to me I would need to scale at least at a 1 hour, and we didn't take my 1 hour for 3 points, and it is really understandable because we already took our draw 1 liquidity, which is the end of the low resistance liquidity. But here, if you go on the 2 minutes, we can say that we did have a setup. We inside this 1 minute we have this 2, which is also quite obvious, but the 1 minute looked more textbook because it was more inside the range. These 2 minutes is a little bit more difficult for me because it is really above, and it is quite risky in my opinion because we have the 1 minute still open and we are already delivering from this. But once again, just like Tuesday, because our draw on liquidity is so strong, we have this almost perfect taps 3 times, and we have this low inside of our value gap. We can say that this would be decent and we wouldn't need to wait for the 1 minute because our draw on liquidity and bias is really strong. And I ended up not taking anything more. I took this short, I also took this short on the 1 minute. I ended up cutting break even, which made me at 3 break evens on the week, and then I went to Friday. And this is the ones that really pissed me off. I stay all the week with break evens, and then this type of things end up happening. Here we have this, what I thought would be at a high, but I'll explain that in a second. Here, if we go on the 4 hour, which I know it's a little bit far, but here we have relatively equal highs, and we are way in premium, so any long here won't be as good as it could be, but if it is a decent setup, it will still be a profitable trade because it probably has more than 60% win rate. And here, before all this got choppy, I said that I would long to these data highs after we swept the data low. But, and this is something that never happened to me. This isn't quite a data high. Yes, it is data high because it's an influx of volatility that created a big wick which left a lot of volume here and a liquidity above. But the data high is at the moment when news come out, and news came out at 8:30. This isn't news. This week it's at 8:29, which means that this was some sort of reaction previous to news. The news are here. So it makes this not the best, but okay, still it is a big week that usually leaves a lot of liquidity here. And I waited for us to take this low, which we did, and then we created these relatively equal lows. But because of open, we had all this speed and momentum. I thought that we would be targeting these highs quite easily. So when we came down and delivered from this, I thought to myself that this was somewhat textbook, and the inversion of this fair value up to the upside would be really good because delivery, which I know it isn't the best, but it is there, and a target to the upside. But yes, it wasn't quite the best. We were high, so usually when things aren't perfect, we need to wait for all the time frames to inverse, and the 30-second never did. Also, as we were saying, the delivery wasn't perfect. We inversed this to the downside and we didn't tap this one, so this wasn't quite textbook. It was bad price action, which wasn't something that I noticed at the time, and that's really it. Price action just got snaky, washing machine, whatever you want to call it. I didn't take anything after it because when I saw this snaky price action, I understood that, okay, I shouldn't take anything more because they will just get super choppy, and it did get choppy. We did inverse this 3-minute to the upside, which kind of looks textbook because we swept these lows and we have the data high, but if we took it, we would get stopped at break even here, which just means that the market isn't in tune with what we want to do. So I ended up getting 3 break evens and 1 loss, which kind of pisses me off. It's okay because it has happened a lot of times before. This week was really good. Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday had a surprise for us, but I wasn't capable of taking those opportunities for some reason. And I probably need more and more price action from me in the future to take those ones. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next week. Bye bye.